This tutorial is to show you how to use freezer paper for your pattern shapes. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the motif that you're going to trace, and then you're going to trace all the little pieces of it separately. So here is a tracing of the ladybug motif. It is number 26. I always label my my page so that I can see how, I just put all the pieces for one motif onto that page. I cut a 4.5-inch square of freezer paper, and that has seemed to be plenty. Then I group my colors together so that I can cut out this little section and stick it onto my black. This piece is going to be red and this piece is going to be green. And so I group all the colors together as I trace, and I do this for all of the motifs in one set. So here's another one to show you how I group them. All the green is over here so that I can just cut a piece of green wool that's about that big, and I'll be able to adhere all of this and press it onto that piece of green wool. And then here's the flower and the flower center. So if you will do that with all of your pieces, then you'll have everything where it needs to be so that you can then put it with the wool. So then here is one that's ready to go. I've got my background picked up. This is actually the little mushrooms, and I've got two different reds for the top of my mushrooms. I've got my one top of my stem, the bottom of my stem. Those are a little bit different colored, and then here's the bottom of one mushroom. And so what you're going to do then is I have cut out around the shape, and you can see that I don't cut neatly at all. I just cut the freezer paper apart. And then you're going to take it to your ironing board and you're going to put it onto the corresponding piece of wool. So then you can just cut right on the line. Now you can see that I didn't trace perfectly, but I can cut perfectly. I can cut a lot straighter than I can draw. And so just even out those lines as you cut. And if you will keep your scissors in one stationary spot and move the wool, you'll have a much better cut. So you just toss that aside, and then I always turn it over and look at it and see if it looks good. If I need to even up anything, I would do it then, and you just peel off the freezer paper and that's ready to go. Then I would use my little clear template and my dry erase marker. I would draw the motif onto here, and then I put these where they need to go, and I glue them in place. I use a Jalili applique glue. You can use any brand of glue. I like the Jalili glue because it has a small point that stays nice and it has a little cap so it doesn't dry out. So it stays in fresh condition easily. So that's how you use freezer paper. Now, if there's little tiny itty bitty stems, you might want to either back the piece of wool with heat and bond light, or you can couch down yarn instead of cutting out wool pieces for any little pieces. Or you can do embroidery stitches. So I cut any odd shapes with scissors. And then here's one. This is another motif. And this one has a lot of square shapes. This is a house. And so instead of using scissors to cut this, I would grab a rotary cutter and a ruler, and I would make sure that all of these angles are nice and square, and I would use a rotary cutter to cut those square shapes. And then use your scissors to cut the other rounded shapes. And that's how you use freezer paper.